All right, guys. So
Okay,
today is the first of hopefully many future interviews with our Weird War Weirdos, which are friends of the channel. These are people who have donated some sort of product or time or something to the channel. And in response and in our thanks to them, we're going to give them a chance to speak about Weird War, gaming, just life in general, whatever. So we get to know the people that you guys are seeing in the comments below. And plus, again, I'm not a big fan of the Patreon thing. I don't want your money, but if you got stuff laying around that you don't want that you think we could use in our gaming, then send it our way and we'll definitely plug you. We'll interview you and we'll play with your toys. And also, anybody who does do that, I'm going to make you guys a little banner and you'll be playing with us on our tabletop battle reports. So you'll be assigned to a vehicle or a unit or even a piece of scenery, depending on how cool you are. But tonight, as an old friend of mine, it's funny. This friend I've never met in person, but we have been business associates and good pals for what, 10, 11 years? Guys, I want you to introduce John Cunningham. Welcome to the channel, John.
But yeah, I think we started talking game stuff probably like 12 years ago or something, back in the 00s.
Yeah,
and we're both Battleground War II nuts, right? We're both fanatic about. We even tried to connect and try and buy the rules out from
guys from Easy 8.
Yeah, from Easy 8. That's also my gaming handle everywhere I go is Easy 8. By the way, it's my favorite tank. Yeah, Easy 8. See me in a game somewhere, Easy 8 is probably me. I usually do like War Thunder and kind of historical MMO kind of stuff,
Oh, that's cool.
But
yeah, I think I'm trying to think
of the right guys, and we've been in touch ever since.
I think we first met on was it LAF or TMP? I can't remember what platform we first met on.
I think it was the miniatures page. I think it's TMP.
TMP.
Yeah. And maybe Battleground War II Yahoo group. I think there was a Yahoo.
That's right. They had one. They had a pretty decent one.
Yeah.
Back in the day,
man. We put a ton of files up there. I put files. You did Weird War really well, and I did bizarre stuff like the Wild West version of Battleground, right? With vehicle schematics for like stagecoach.
That's right. I remember the stagecoach. I remember that. Now that you say that, I think I have that around somewhere, actually printed up somewhere. That was awesome. But man, when Yahoo nixed all their groups, that was a shame, dude. There was so much stuff on that Yahoo groups. A lot of talent, a lot of fun times.
Just smart about it. Now I know groups that I took. Yeah.
It's crazy. Well, so first thing
that kind of got me into game writing too, by the way.
Yeah, I think it's funny because when I was talking to Ed at Millennium Con one year, he was talking about, hey man, you want to help me with Weird War, and I'm like, this is when Jason first got diagnosed, and I just didn't have the time to commit. I'm like, but I do know a guy. I know a guy, and I think I sent him your way, didn't I?
I think you did, and I end up doing his Eastern Front Nuts book first, right? Yeah. I just wanted to write. I wanted to write game stuff. I've been creating little game things my whole life. My dad got me into gaming because he invented some simple games when I was a kid, right? And I was so disappointed that we couldn't get the rights for World War II. Well, I want to write something. And Ed, he put me in touch with Ed, and he's like, "Oh, cool. All right, show me some of your stuff." I actually showed him some of the Battleground World War II stuff we've done. Like, just write something for me. And I did the Eastern Front book, Clash of Titans. Right? He's like, "This is cool. All right." And Ed's a great guy to write for. He's like, "Hey, you gotta just write it. Send it to me. If he's got time, if it's good, he'll take it. If not, he'll say, yeah, you need to work on this some more." He's like, "What's the time? What's the timeline? Whatever." I got lots of stuff.
Ed's a great guy, man. He's a cool guy to talk to, and he's just real personable and approachable, and he's a great guy.
I took some of those ideas that we collaborated on, and I turned that into the Nuts Weird War book, right?
Which is a great
so
book.
Next time I'm going to update that puppy. I want you on there as a co-author.
I'm there, brother.
Right?
I'm there.
Some writing credit.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool. I definitely want to give you a hand. And plus, I just want to expand the genre of wargaming too. I think It's coming in. I mean, you got several games now. You got Dust and you got K-47 and, I guess Secrets of Third Reich's been around for a while, but, it's still around. And
Cthulhu, right?
Octoon Cthulhu, yeah, yeah. So there's definitely a presence of Weird War in some of the bigger companies out there. So if we just keep knocking at it,
And it's a fun genre because World War II was weird already. You just take that kind of twist. Think about a war where the Allies were working on bat bombs, right?
Yeah.
We put there's an idea to put incendiary devices on bats and drop them over a city. They'd fly into the rafters, and you had radar guided bombs and guided missiles and all sorts of real weirdness. And first anti-tank rocket, guided missiles, all kinds of stuff. And then you just say, well, what if they just advanced it just a little bit? And
just
I really
a little, yeah.
I used to really like the Gear Krieg system from Dream Pod 9.
Yeah.
Their whole background's really cool. Or Christie, instead of building conventional tanks, invents the first Panzer mech, right? And the U.S. passes on the design, but the Germans buy it as an industrial machine and innovate it into a combat mech. And he's got great artwork and good concept. So,
Now, their magazine, I can't remember what the magazine is called. They have like a ongoing Gear Krieg comic in it.
Yeah, it's Aurora magazine. Guy named
Aurora.
John Bell. So actually, I collaborated. So being a weirdness guy, I even connected with another guy through Lead Adventure Forum. Brian Cottrell. No, it wasn't Brian Cottrell.
That's me.
Brent Dietrich. That's you, man. So Brent Dietrich over at Company B, right?
Yeah.
He's also into Weird War stuff. He's an artist. He's a sculptor. He does 3D sculpting now for all sorts of stuff. And so we collaborated. We got a license from Dream Pod 9 to do Gear Krieg in 1/56 scale. But we fell right in this gap in the market, right? Where Dusty kind of went, and then Gear Krieg never really took off. Dream Pod 9 never really found the niche for that. And I wasn't a fan of their game system, but the concept and the models are awesome. And then we put out this line of figures and tanks, right? Combat mechs. It's just fell into a void. We couldn't get it to climb up the hill. Like, okay, fine. At least I got a bunch of cool sculpts out of it. We did German, Japanese, British, Russian, American walkers,
I think it was the skate, the original, Gear Krieg was 15 mil. And was Flames of War kicking then? I think it was kind of with Flames of War just came out. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was kind of pre-Flames of War. Their core bread and butter was was kind of an interesting scale for them to try because they did their mecha stuff, heavy gear, right? That was their bread and butter.
Yeah, they're like anime
so they
kind of thing.
Invented Gear Krieg as the ancestor foundation for these mega and that was their core. It's like a BattleTech scale, maybe a different scale. And for whatever reason, when they decided to do the Gear Krieg, they did everything in 15s, and the market wasn't doing 15s at the time. So again, they fell into a gap too.
Yeah,
shifted from 15s to 28 or whatever. So that's kind of a funny thing to figure out when you're writing rules. I like writing the rules part, not the doing the models part, because you have the tastes in gaming change all the time.
That's true.
Right? It kind of ebbs and flows, and we're all gamers with gamer ADD. We get excited about the new bling and the new thing, and it's 15s, and then it went to 28s, and then it was epic micro scale, and then it was boom back up to another scale. Yep. So at least now as a gamer, you've got any scale you can think of is out there now.
It's the golden age of gaming, man. You can get rules from anybody and everything and any scale and any genre. It's great. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people who haven't searched out, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing the YouTube channel is that there's a lot of Weird War out there. In various companies, there's board games and there's miniature games and there's movies and there's all sorts of crap. So it's kind of cool to bring the like minds together and show people there's a lot of stuff out there, man. Grab it. You're breaking up, dude. Lost you.
We're zooming.
There you are.
The pleasures of doing Zoom calls, right?
Yeah.
When I was writing the Nuts Weird War, I was looking for every figure I could think of. I contacted producers to say, hey, can I put your figures, like a list of your figures in this game book? And to my surprise, most of them were like, no, You're
That's
competing.
weird.
Like, I'm not doing figures, man. It's just rules. So
Yeah.
people buy your figures. That's where most of your money is the figures, right? So if they like different rules, but they love your figures, I'll give you free advertising. No, it's our copyrights. Okay, fine. It's your copyrights. I got a Mecha Tank guy at Quarter Kit. I put his stuff in there, and verbally, or through Facebooky, I don't know what you call that. Paulo Apprentice is really cool. He's like, he likes the idea of Nuts Weird War. He's like, yeah, you can put Dust in there. If I want to get on a running, I need to actually formally contact him and ask.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Paulo's a great guy. Yeah. I've talked to him several times. But he's got a great line of stuff, man. I love his mechs and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And they're great. And he's kind of a cheesecake, kind of, girls with big boobs and awesome stuff like that. So
it's classic diesel punk pinup stuff.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Really,
it is. It's a lot of fun. But
I'd say that he really took the genre of Weird War II diesel punk to a whole new level. Right?
He did.
Visualized it in ways that nobody ever seen before.
He has that artistic flair. He's an artist by profession, and he knew how to show it. He knew how to sell it. And it looks great. It's really good stuff. But yeah. So we got a couple questions for you. First one: shoot us your gaming origin story. Just what's your origin, man?
My origin?
Yeah, how you get into all this stuff?
Oh, that's for me. It's pretty direct. My dad, right? So my dad was a kid growing up in San Leandro, California during World War II, and he and his buddies would track the Pacific War on a big map in their mom's basement. And they made these little ship markers out of clay, right? They made little battleships and stuff, and they fired them in their mom's oven. They put them on the map, and they like move them around to record all the battles they're seeing, in the news. And so at one point they said, "Hey, you know what? We could fight our own battles." They made a very simple battle war game using craps as the core rules, right?
Oh, wow.
A 7 always hits. And then you hit on the spread, like a cruiser hits on a spread of 1. So 6, 7, 8. And a battleship hits on a spread of 2, right? And there's whole rule, this whole game out of it, right? And so when I was a kid, he recreated that game for me to play with me, which is awesome. And he carved all these little ships out of balsa. I actually still have some of them, right? They're really nice little battleships and carriers and stuff.
Check those out, yeah.
That hooked me. Like I'm doing games with my dad, right? Creating games. And then I always wrote games for fun as a kid. They're always rip-offs of like the early Steve Jackson micro games, where you have like fire factors and it's, 5 fire factor versus 3. I did all sorts of weird stuff. I tried doing fantasy and sci-fi, but, then I did a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, but I was always drawn to figures, right? Because my dad always did stuff with figures. He turned everything into a war game. Like we had the little plastic battleground set, right?
Yeah.
He turned
the Mark stuff.
It's like how many shots you get. Yeah, exactly. Battleground Guns of Navarone, all that stuff.
Oh man, that was the great set. I had that big old Navarone mountain.
Big old mountain, right?
It was awesome.
Yeah. It's BB proof too, by the way. You shoot that thing and it reflects right back at you.
Dude, that thing was epic.
So I mean, he did fun stuff where you can roll dice down, you get belts. Right. Then we set them up outside and shoot at each other, shoot him BB guns, right? And then he'd get like a bootleg brick of firecrackers to throw at him. So it was fun, right? He did all sorts of stuff, as a kid. So that was cool. So I think figures and adventure and dice was always there from the beginning for me,
That's awesome. We used the Lincoln Logs. You remember Lincoln Log, right?
Yes.
You make the little catapults. We would shoot the one pieces and like try to knock each other's army men over. So that was our, instead of the BB guns, we used the Lincoln Logs, but that was a lot of fun. Dude. It was funny because it sounds like we were always in it, but it just didn't have, just wasn't refined, didn't have a name for it.
Yeah, and then I went, then I moved into, of course, I always did board games like, Risk and Axis and Allies, whatever. But then I did, Dungeons and Dragons as a kid, and I still play role-playing games. But it's more time-consuming than a war game on the table. It's like it's done. You fight a battle, it takes X hours, and it's done. And it's fun. Each one's different, And I got really into collecting figures and then doing terrain and then I have to be more disciplined. It used to be, I had like everything I could think of. Like, that's been sitting there for like 5 years. I was like, all right, let's turf that out, downsize to what I do. So I'm really much focused on like 28 millimeter skirmish World War II and Weird War II, 20 millimeter Dark Ages, and Middle Earth. I'm doing like Tolkien style armies.
That's
right?
cool.
So it's using Duke Britannium, which is the Two Fat Lardies Dark Ages.
Yeah.
So it's like war bands of like 40 figures aside, right? Which is pretty manageable.
That's cool. Yeah, I had to trim the fat on my gaming too, man. I had all this crap, different scales. I'm just like, man, I can't do it anymore. So I just narrowed it down. It's like Weird World War II, 28 millimeter. That's all I'm doing.
It's cool that Weird War II is you can also do, it goes right into the pulp stuff on either side of the war, right? You can do all the Indiana Jones and pre-war pulp you want to, and you can even kind of push it into the 50s a bit, right?
I usually my
comic pump.
My range is 1920 to 1950. That's what I kind of consider my gaming range. But you insert the horror aspect. You can do horror stuff, pulp, high adventure, straight historical. But it's all using the same. It's all using the same minis. It's all using the same terrain and scenery and everything. So I just focused in that time frame. I was going broke, man. I was just running out of space.
Yeah, and that's also why it's fun to write for 2 Hour War Games, because he'll throw editing jobs my way, or I'll co-author stuff, or just help another author kind of streamline his stuff, like Lovecraft's Revenge. It's all his games, most of his games. Yeah, you can play them head to head, but there's also a really heavy solo and co-op component. So I love playing co-op World War II and World War II, where you're all like on the same side. It's pretty fun. Especially I've got a teenage kid. He's getting more competitive. He likes to destroy dad now in a game, but he still likes to be on the same side. But he had rules for like solo Cthulhu adventures and fantasy and fantasy madness and weirdness. And, so I really enjoy doing that. But the co-op stuff's pretty cool. I like, a couple years back, I did a huge, D-Day game. It was a huge and skirmish, a whole platoon with landing craft hitting the beach, and every guy in the club had a different squad. And my son got to play Lieutenant Dan. Right, he was the young lieutenant to lead them up the beach.
Right on.
Sergeant Holka, all these figures to take out of the movies, make it cinematic. It was fun.
That's cool.
I enjoyed that. I love the social aspect of like getting together with people and hanging out.
Well,
and having fun.
That's the thing. I think we all strive that social interaction. That's why we're war gamers instead of just video gamers. Because, we can just pay $50 and buy one of the newest, online game and play with people across the planet and just, have a great time. But I think it's that social aspect. And I think a lot of us are, we're hobbyists too. So, building model. I always built models when I was a kid. I always, like painting or whatever. So it's part of that too. So, but, I think we all kind of run in a similar circle.
It's something different. Like when you're playing the computer games. Yeah. And when you're playing the computer games, it's always going to be the same map, the same type of scenario, right? So at a certain point, you're doing like a team game. You all know where the best sniper spots are, the best place to go hold down, or how to sneak up on a cap zone. And it's always the same thing. So yeah, you get your fast twitch muscle game in, but there's not it's not the same like on a tabletop game. You get all sorts of things that just, the dice lead off in bizarre directions, right? Like one Battleground World War II game, straight up BG World War II, right? I did another D-Day game a long time ago. And, the Americans are hitting the beach, and one of the players decided he was just going to charge this machine gun nest with this flamethrower guy. And it's 2 MG-34 shooting at him. Couldn't hit the guy. Right? You're going like 15 dice or something crazy like that. And they're missing. He's charging through a minefield. He's making every saving throw not to step on a mine. He gets up to the embrasure of the bunker and like crits it and burns the whole thing out. And it's like, all right, that guy goes hero.
Hell yeah, major hero right there.
He never seen it happen.
That's awesome.
And then we all decided as players, we told the player who controlled the figure, that guy's out of the war now. He's going to go back home and do war bond tour.
Yeah, he's on the war bond trail. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah,
hero of D-Day Beach.
That's that's one of the reasons I like that.
It's just fun to take the imagination to the next level.
So with that, we're talking, we kind of come from Battleground being one of the first.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the first 28 millimeter World War II game I'd ever seen. So, and I want to say that it was probably the first 28 mil
squad platoon level game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything before then you could do 28s, but it was all like platoon maneuver to company level stuff.
Yeah.
There's nobody doing skirmish like they did, right? Where they designed it to be like, you play the game, you're like playing Kelly's Heroes or a classic small unit war movie, right? That's what they wanted to go for. That's what they delivered on, you know.
And I tell you, you laugh while you're playing it. It is so fun because all this crazy shit happens, and you know it's a lot of fun. But it's so strange that we don't really see any. Well, besides like us, you know, the people that we the Battleground fans are usually kind of still talking to each other, but you know, there's no mention of it from any of the, you know, the new generation, like, you know, Warlords, the Bolt Action crew, they've never heard of it, or, you know, the Chain of Command guys, they've never heard of it, or they never speak about it or anything like that. It's just a little strange that such a great game in the 28 millimeter World War II is just kind of overlooked and just kind of forgotten so easily. I don't know, but yeah. So
I moved over to playing a lot of Nutsource because it has a lot of feel of Battleground, and it has a mechanic I really like, which is the reaction system, right?
Yes.
So in most games, even like Chain of Command, Warlord, whatever, your figures move and you stop, right? And you're done. You move, you shoot, you're done. The next guy moves and shoots and he's done. And you know how many times you've been in a game where you move your figures and on the next turn this guy flanks you and your figures are standing there just like watching him,
just waiting
up on him, right? So at least in the 2-hour war game system, reaction is whenever figures see each other in the game, they react. Right? They might fire on each other. They might duck for cover. They might, hunt a hawk, right? My morale's low and I'm just going to surrender because you're too close to me. But something always happens. Your figures never sit there. Sometimes they react in ways you don't want to, right? Which is kind of cool. So it takes the total, gamer godlike control out of the game. Like I remember a game we're doing, the Battle of the Bulge game, and it was Piper is pushing into Stavelo, right? And he's doing his big offensive. And there is an American airborne unit with a 57 millimeter anti-gun, and a Panther comes out of the woods. And we can see he's following a road because the fields are muddy, so it's going to follow and go down the side of the road. We'll get a flank shot on it. But the figures have to roll reaction, and they panic fire. And they just bounce right off the front of the Panther. The Panther stops and just takes them out. You're like, no, I didn't want them to do that. Well, sorry, man.
Yeah, they panic.
Your figures panic. Now they're gone. It's like, damn.
It is. I have to admit.
Yeah. The first time I saw it in a game where, the
reaction rules are fun. They're really cool and again, just like in real battle, as a commander, your troops aren't doing what you're telling them to do, right? They're trying to stay alive.
Yeah. And then like classic, and I love games like Weird War II, Battleground War II is good because it rewarded like infantry tactics, right? Yeah. And Nuts does the same thing. Like the same game, then for later on in the game, that Panther driver gets excited and pushes into the town of Stavelo by himself. And guess what's waiting in there? There's an American engineering squad. They fire on the TC. He has to button up the tank so they can't see the guy running up from the side, chucking a satchel charge under it. Boom, dead tank. Yep. Right, classic close assault of a tank in an urban environment. And all the gamers are like, oh, that's why tanks don't go by themselves in the cities. Right? You don't see that in hardly any other game. No. It's too abstract, right? You're just rolling buckets of dice at each other and you don't have that tactical feel. So, and I love the miniatures games where you're basically stepping out of reality for a minute. You get to say, well, what would it be like, to be in this environment, either from just a fun standpoint or a historical standpoint or a challenge standpoint. That's cool. And then you always get to learn about the history of the period and why people were engaged in this and why they acted the way they acted. Like you think Civil War, like why did this march with like 100 feet from each other and open fire? Well, because the limitations of the weapons
of the weaponry
from Napoleonics to the Civil War, the mindset for transitioning to rifled muskets hadn't been clicked in yet. So they were trying to engage like point blank, and then then you have rifle cannons and all kinds of stuff. Like, oh, oops, change. So I always love reading about history. I've always been a history buff, so that kind of matches right into my wargaming stuff.
Yeah, the same thing with me. When I when I walked into a game shop one day and I saw some guys playing Battleground, and I'm just like, what? World War II? Because I played 40K and fantasy and all, all that kind of stuff, but never a historical like at that scale. And I was hooked. So this is really cool, and it just re-energizes your lust for the information and just the history, and then when you get into the weird, you start kind of gravitating to like real weird. Like, like you were saying, the bat bombs and, like sun guns and all crazy stuff, ice aircraft carriers and all that kind of crap. That they were actually, the war was they were so desperate, right? And then it was iffy at times, in those war years, and they were just throwing out anything they could freaking think of. And that's the real.
It became adopted technology for forever, like helicopters, right? They first went into combat in World War II, and Scorzini almost used the F/A-223 Drakis to do an assault to rescue Mussolini, right? Yep. And then the U.S. used helicopters to rescue downed pilots in Europe, and they did this really wacky mission in Burma to recover secret code equipment from a downed B-25 up in the boondocks, right? So we had weirdness right there, and it must have seemed like total Buck Rogers stuff to the people at the time to see an ME-262 fly by, no propellers, just flames spitting out of these tubes. I mean, how crazy is that?
I mean, can you imagine?
We think we live with change.
Just imagine being a grunt in the field and you hear a jet fly over. You never have any experience, no frame of mind, frame of that at all, and it's being used by the enemy. You're like, that's pretty scary stuff, man.
Yeah.
But then you just go a little bit further, and next thing you know, you got Walker tanks and vampires, and you just keep going. That's right. Just whatever you got laying around.
It's fun to look at scenarios like look at the invasion of Amundsen Land or Queenland in Antarctica, right? It's crazy. Was it Operation High Jump? The Americans sent a whole divisional expedition to Antarctica. A carrier, I think Orscan was the carrier, and an entire division guys did an assault into this part, the Queen Maud Land, right, Antarctica, which had been possessed by the Germans, right? You're like, what were they going there for? Oh, we did
weird.
Just a cold weather exercise. No, you don't send like almost a whole division to invade Antarctica, and it's just like a cold weather. You could do that in Alaska, right?
Yeah.
Now you go to Antarctica. What were they looking for down there? So that's like, it's a Weird War gamer. Ooh, maybe there was a base down there.
Yeah, New Swabiland or Swabia.
Yeah, New Swabiland, right? Yep. Exactly. So.
But you never know. That's the thing. Was it 1947? I think they did Operation High Point. I think is what it was called.
High Point,
yeah. And you're right. They sent a shit ton of stuff down there. A lot.
We're just doing cold weather maneuvers in Antarctica.
Yeah, it's like, geez.
Not Alaska or Canada.
So with that, okay, so what is your favorite game all time? It doesn't have to be Weird War, but just what is something that just
all-time game
of all time? You could say your own, but
I have it's like whatever I have games for the moods I'm in, right? So it's hard to say I have a game that's favorite of all time. Starting out with the first massive amount of figures I pushed around would have been Risk, but Risk is now like a known quantity game, and unless you introduce variants like Nuke Risk or something, it's it's only fun to play with like a little teeny kid, right? So I guess it really depends on my mood. If I want to do anything that's diesel punk period from the 20s up into the 50s, I'm going to do like nuts skirmish systems, right? Because you can tweak it and there's all sorts of mods for it, and so I'll do that, and it's fun because you just got a couple squads aside on the table, and that's fun to do. If I want to do, I've been on this since it's the 20th anniversary of the release of the Lord of the Rings movies.
20?
Right? So 20, right?
I saw all those in the theater, dude.
I know, right?
Oh,
it's
man.
been that long, so I thought I've had all these Middle Earth projects just on the shelf. I've been dusting them off and I'm painting up dwarves and orcs and wargs and all that kind of stuff. And I did a whole game mod for Too Fat Lardy's Duke Brignarium called Duke Arda, and it's like an entire how to do wargaming in Middle Earth, right? A Dark Ages style. So And then the stuff my son wants to do. Like sometimes as a board game, we do a lot of sort of science board games or space board games, like Space Core from GMT, a really cool exploration kind of tech building game. You go in 3 phases. You're like a SpaceX company at first, exploring like gravity turf on Mars, solar system like here. It's a really fun game. So it's kind of cool. And then sometimes, we'll just trot some weird out like Eldritch Horror or Arkham Horror and throw it on the table. And we do role-playing games. I did Cthulhu with him. We're doing a D&D 5th edition, but he's getting bored, so I just threw Spelljammer at him, right?
Oh, there you go. Spelljammer. Yeah.
So we just segued from Rime of the Frostmaiden to Spelljammer. And we pretty much play it kind of co-op-ish. I'm kind of the game master, and it's troop style, right? It's too bad, like, to the point about all the kids doing computer games, a lot of them don't have the patience or interest in doing a tabletop game.
Yeah.
COVID, of course, put a big, crimp in everything. But even before COVID, most of his buddies want to go online and get on Discord and do, fast shooter games, So love to have a game group where we could just do, tabletop stuff together. So
well, they came. What is that website now? It's like you're playing a tabletop game, but it's like electronic.
Oh yeah, it's Tabletop Simulator.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It's still got the downside of being a computer game, right? It's a lot more like playing a tabletop game, and it's on Steam, and it doesn't cost very much at all. But it does take some technical skills to figure out how to set up how to take all these different modules and make them work within the game environment. And then, pretty much people do it for solo play or for some light interaction. But I saw you doing some cool stuff with that one game. Who was the guy at Pulp, right? Doing like cameras at different on different tables or something like that. That's kind of a cool idea.
Oh yeah, Pulp Alley.
So you can have Pulp Alley. You can have like a common table and participate that way is kind of cool. I like that because like tangible. I guess I'm a tangible figures guy. I want to move figures and paint terrain, But
you gotta play with your toys, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I go like any gamer. I go through phases. I've been through like naval war phases. I did Napoleonic naval. I wrote rules for that. So I've done rules for HR Games, right? Manny Granillo. He does a really cool set of operational level Napoleonics called Corps Command. He does Panzer Corps, World War II. Really good, like division level game, right? So I wrote the Napoleonic fleet action rules for that game system. I had fun doing that. So I've done game stuff here and there. I did like a couple of game books for him, World War II source books and stuff like that. But most of those games are hard to organize because they're like mass, right? Yeah. You need like hundreds of figures, on the table, and I just don't have the time, money, and patience. I go blind paint them. I can't paint that many figures,
I'm blind.
Yeah,
I'm blind now, dude. I'm wearing glasses too nowadays.
Oh no! Oh, you're trying to look younger. Take these off. Look at me. I'm young now.
I used to love painting.
That's going away.
But man, my eyes are shot to hell, and it ain't easy to. Cat, what are you doing? Go get out of here! Damn cat, Mel's cat's pain in the ass. Anyway, but yeah, it's a little bit more challenging.
Unit, right?
What's that?
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, I'm okay painting like a squad. Right. I'm good with that. I can paint like a fire team, like 4 to 6 guys, 10 guys. That's not a problem. It's like I get intimidated and I get like, oh, I need to field a unit. I only have to paint 120 figures. Like these gigantic warlord box sets. Battle of Waterloo, 400 figures. You got to paint 400 figures. Are you kidding me? I'll be there for 10 years.
Dude, especially Napoleonics, man. Yeah, and I know you're a stickler to history. So you'll be going crazy making all the colors and
yeah. And then of course your all your gaming group will get distracted. You're just like a third of the way through painting your stuff for the game. Like, oh, we're gonna do colonial now. We're gonna do like Punjab, Indian, and British. I'm like, really? I have Napoleonics. We just bought them.
That's why I tell you, man. That's why I just did World War II / Weird World War II, man. I just cannot.
Yeah. It's cool that you can take your Weird War stuff and you can turn into Lovecraft, right? Do like Lovecraft skirmishes, or like some buddies and I a long time ago we did like a Mafia bootlegger campaign that turned into a Cthulhu Pultist campaign, all using it wasn't Pulp Alley. There's another set of rules before it was all D6 based. God, I forget, but It was also
it
like
Rat Trap?
Yeah, Rat Trap. Yeah, we did Rat Trap. Yeah,
Pulp. It was Pulp something or Height. Shit, I can't remember what they called their. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So
Pulp Adventure or no 45 Adventure.
That's right. That's
45
right.
Adventure. Yeah, I think that's what it was called.
Yeah.
I never played that. I have
you probably played like every game ever printed, you know, in this genre.
Yeah, I have the Weird War supplement for that here, but I just never played it. But that's cool. So so you got anything on the you being so prolific in your gaming and your writing for others? You got anything you're working on right now that you want people to know about?
Oh yeah, so still authoring for 2 Word Games. That just updated a massive update of their 50 like role playing / skirmish warband game, right? So this expands, it's like massively expands the 50 universe. So the universe is basically, think Firefly meets Star Wars meets, it's kind of like your classic edge of the known verse kind of setting, right? So it's kind of gritty and it's all like warband level. So it's a lot of fun to update that book. That's going to go to a Kickstarter. And I'm kind of writing, actually, I'll write more than the book can take. I always have to, it's like, this is my wish list. If I could play a game, I'll write that game, right? This is a game I want to play. And then a lot of times, editors like, well, you know what? A lot of people aren't into like creating their own universe. A lot of people want pre-chewed stuff. It's not bad. They don't have time to do it, but they want an adventure. Here it is. I don't have to think about it. Open up the book, take out the figures, throw it down, do adventures, 1 through 16, right?
I'm never more like that.
Do it yourself, like, scratch build my universe, right? So I was like, oh, take all the scratch build rules out and repurpose that into a different book. So I'm doing that. And then I'm going to get back onto the Nuts Weird War book, right? That'll be hopefully coming out this year. And there's some fantasy stuff for 2 War Games I'm working on as well. And then I've done some other odds and ends that are kind of goofy. The goofiest one I ever did was Aliens, Cows versus Visitors. Basically, it was the idea was this guy did this whole figure line, right, of like aliens and like cows with laser pistols and rednecks with shotguns and homebrewed mech machines and stuff like that. And so he asked me to write the rules, and I did. It was totally fun to do that, right?
That's cool.
So I've done stuff like that before as well.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, cool. One more question, okay? And I know you got family, and I know the sun's starting to set over there now. Yeah. But what is your favorite weird? It's got to be Weird War / Pulp, whatever character. Your favorite character?
Oh, my favorite character.
And again, Diesel Punk, Atomic Punk, Pulp, Weird War, World War II, whatever it is.
That's fun. Well, I gotta say, it's the Ghost Tank. It's the Stuart from the Ghost Tank comics. Haunted Tank, right? That's my Haunted Tank. This the Stuart, right?
Yep.
I always loved those comic books. In fact, I ate up. I forgot. I ate up all that stuff as a kid. Sergeant Rock and Weird War
that's
comics
my boy right there.
All Sergeant that stuff, right? And so I really enjoyed. I thought that was a ton of fun, and I did put the supers into the Weird War book, right, for Nuts World War II.
Yep.
I'll expand it and do the occult stuff. I found out, by the way, that there are some obscure diesel punk era superheroes that have gone public IP because the comic book companies that created them back in the 30s and 40s don't exist anymore. Some of them, like, it looks like they tried to make a replay, like the Black Canary, right?
Yeah.
Black Canary originally was like this British female Batman, right? She go behind the German lines and occupy France, beat up a bunch of Germans and slang and update there. I always love that kind of genre, like the live act. And that's what Battleground World War II was so cool about, because you felt like you're in a Sergeant Rock comic.
It's true.
Right? It's say, well, we had Haunted Tank in that, right?
If you want to do some reading with a lot of those characters, I think it's Dynamite Comics.
Mm-hmm.
They write a bunch of the old like Black Flag and the Destroyer and a lot of that stuff. So they do a lot of the Golden Age, the cool. Open IP stuff now. So, and great artwork, cool story. So if you want to kind of dip into that. I think it's Dynamite is the comics that, and they have a whole bunch
Dynamite.
of different.
Yeah, and it's a fun period because, you know, being a geek, I followed modern comics for quite a while, doing X-Men and that kind of stuff. And then they became so soap opera-ish, right? They just became like, you know, oh no, Cyclops and Jean Grey split up, and then she was killed but not killed. She's Dark Phoenix, but now she's not Dark Phoenix. And, you know, it's like, oh man, I'm like, this is like Days of Our Lives and superheroes. Come on, right? You know, give me some bish bam bam, you know.
it did. It got, and then it got political, and then it got just too real, and it's just like, man, I just want adventure.
Then they did the whole thing, and they did all these things. They bring on like authors to do like all sorts of variants of comics that you liked already, just to see who would stick. You're like, okay, all right. Well, I guess I could save my. And then it was like they got expensive, right? It used to be like,
my God,
75 cents, $1.25.
It's like $5 a comic,
$2, $3, $5, $6, $7 for comic.
Yeah, it's nuts.
I don't know. Like $7 for comic. Forget it. I can't do that.
I don't see how people buy individual issues nowadays. I don't see it. I mean, I'll buy a trade paperback here and there.
Yeah. But then $7 is like, you know, 4 Fallschirmjäger figures that I can paint up, put on the table, right?
That's true. It's true. You can actually play with the toys and stuff. You can't play with a comic, you know. But yeah. So So guys,
I'm create my own adventure, right, with imagination and toys.
I'm going to put a bunch of links down below of JC's stuff, so you guys can check out the vast array of stuff that he's partaken in, and you know, buy some of his stuff, and you know, see what he's got going, and give us your web
last word of advice. Anybody out there, if you ever thought, you know, how do I become a game author? Just be one, right? You know, that's the thing is like. You know, I've talked to a few people like, oh, I wish I could be a game author. Well, you can just write, you know, and you'd be surprised how many people want to talk about writing, but don't want to sit down and write stuff. So I swear to God, if you just say, I'm going to write stuff, companies, you know, cool guys like Edit to Our War Games, what have you, they need people who can creatively write stuff. Just to go do it, right? You know,
I agree. I mean, I've been writing stuff and then just putting it up for free for people to play with, man. I enjoy it. And it's just do it. Just do it. There's nothing holding you back but yourself.
For other people to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, John, so it was great talking to you, man. It's great seeing you, you know, live.
Yeah, finally. Brian, absolutely.
It's been like 10 years, dude. Listen, we're going to have to meet up, man. Yeah. No BS. We're going to have to meet in like what's halfway point to Texas and California, like New Mexico or something.
Probably somewhere in the middle of New Mexico. I don't know.
Probably, yeah. I mean, it's going to take me 3 weeks to just get out of Texas, you know. But I'll make that trip. But yeah, man, we definitely
turns around a bit. Maybe I can get out to Millennium Con or something like that. You know,
it's coming up in November. We'll be there this November, man. And hell, if you need a place to crash, you can always crash here, dude. So, but yeah, so guys, I want you to introduce again. John Cunningham, one of our first and most loyal Weird WWII weirdos, and he's a weirdo himself. Prolific in his game design, prolific in his gaming himself. I'm gonna put a bunch of his links at the bottom, so you know, jump into his life and see what he's got going. And you know, he's approachable and he's an awesome guy. So you know, say hi, John. It was great talking to you, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian. Hey, it was good. It was good talking to you, man. I really appreciate it. We'll have to do more of this stuff.
Yeah, we'll have to do this
or whatever,
more.
Game over the internet or whatever. This was fun. I appreciate it.
This was great, man. All right, buddy. It was good seeing you. We'll talk to you later.
All right, take care.
Hey, whatever you do, brother, whatever you do, you keep it weird.
I'll keep it weird.
All right.
All right, take care, man. Bye-bye.
All right, guys. So, listen, if you guys want to be a weird World War II weirdo, all you got to do is donate something to the channel. You know, what we're looking for, you know, we don't want to take your money, but we've had some people come out and reach out to us and ask us, you know, how they can, you know, give back to the channel or whatever. And we're like, you know, just if you got stuff that you think we can use in our games, you know, send it our way. If you got some rule systems that you think would be cool, you know, Pulp or Weird War or whatever that, you know, you want us to try out, send it our way. And if you do, again, what we'll do is, if you want to be interviewed, we'll do an interview with you. You know, we'll talk weird and
see what's going down. And then we'll also we'll make a banner for you, and we'll put you in our game. So whenever we play our battle reports, we'll attach the various weirdo banners on there, our units and whatnot in the game. So you guys will be like playing with us. So it'll be awesome. So again, just shoot me a message at the link below, and we'll hammer something out. All right. Well, again, we wanted to thank JC for supporting the channel for so long, and just being a great friend for so long too. So we look forward to seeing you, and whatever you do, keep it weird.